One of the key elements of .NET development, and certainly ASP.NET development, is your configuration settings. And introduced with .NET 1.0 was the concept of config files. And for ASP.NET, those are going to be web.config files, which is an XML-based file that has all of the configuration settings for your web application or website. And that's still possible, although with the newest version of ASP.NET, there's actually an alternative configuration syntax, but that's neither here nor there. The concept is still the same. The idea being that I can have all these different settings and they stay in this XML-based file that deploys with my application. And that's still true for web apps. If I've got a ASP.NET app that I'm building in Visual Studio, I set up my my web.config file and I deploy it, those configuration files or those configuration settings are available in my web app. The problem is a lot of times you don't want that to be the case because those settings are configured, say, for your development environment or for your test environment, or you'd have to give your developers access to production settings, which I'm a developer. I'm fine with that, but not all administrators are. So one of the really cool capabilities for ASP.NET apps that are deployed as web apps is that in the web app itself, you can actually set some of your configuration settings and they'll override anything in the web config file. So basically, when your app runs in Azure as a web app, it's intercepting the communication with the config file and really injecting these settings, right? And so what that does is it allows your developers, or it allows you as a developer, to build the application, to put in your test or your development environment settings, and then when you deploy it, those are going to be overwritten by what the administrator or what the operations person has set at the web application level itself in Azure. Right? And so that way, as you redeploy, you don't have to worry about updating those settings. Very cool, very secure capability. Two key setting areas, and these would be pretty much, if you're familiar with ASP.NET, what you would expect. You've got the connection strings capabilities, right? And then you can see, for example, this is a screenshot from within the Azure environment. I've got application context DB, and then the setting for that, and the type, right? And so that way, any calls, any code that's already written in an app that's accessing application context DB would be overridden with this setting. Likewise, if you have any app settings, you can do the same thing with your app settings. So I can go, I set up my web config file, I add app settings to the web config file, then when I deploy it into an Azure web app, any settings that are defined within the web app itself will override my web config file. Very cool capability just in terms of not only deployment, but security and maintainability.